Thank you. Thank you.
Now I
Thank
request our next speaker, Dr. Devananda Beura. He is the head of Department of Geology, Utkal University. He has a very good number of papers in international and national journals. He is a editor of Emerging Science. He is a columnist in Delhi Odia, Dharitri and Sambat. So I request Dr. Devananda Beura sir to please start your talk. Hello sir. Sir phone करो. Sir, hello, Devananda Beura sir.
Yes, Sasim.
Yes sir. You are audible sir. Now you can start your topic. Sorry for the delay.
Okay, thank you.
We are already running late by 30
We
minutes.
are lagging behind. We are lagging behind around 1 hour, I think, because I was given time 12:40. Now it is going to be 13:35. Means
Okay.
I'm lagging behind 1 hour.
Yes sir.
Anyway, so let me present my topic quickly so that will not waste time.
Okay sir, please start.
So, okay. So is it visible?
I think.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Visible?
Okay. So first of all, I'd like to thank the team FM Geology for organizing such a webinar uh, in the situation when everything is not normal. So I'd like to thank them, and I would like to offer my gratitude to my teacher, Professor Madhumita Das, Vice Chancellor of FM University. And also I attended the inaugural session when the eminent personalities like Dr. Ranjit Rath, DGGSI, Professor Devesh Kumar Sinha is an eminent professor of paleontology, paleoclimate of Delhi University, and the chairperson of FM University were present. All my regards to them all. So I'm sorry that I'm lagging behind by 1 hour. So it is a constraint for me to present such a topic on the Arkansas belt, but I'm presenting a teeny part of it, which include the structural signatures very much confined to the folds. As you know, Odisha is endowed with a huge amount of iron formations. So among them, the distributions are laying majorly in three parts of the North Odisha iron ore craton. They all are encircling the North Odisha iron ore craton, and the eastern province of iron formation represent the oldest one among the three, and it is popularly known as the Badampar Gorumoisani Sulaipat belt. DGS belt. And the structure is important in the sense that it is part of the mineral development which helps in understanding the formation of pores, mineralizing episodes, evolutions, etc. So we will not talk that structure is only academic sense of studying the pores, faults, joints, etc. But so far as economic geology is concerned, the part of structural study is very important in exploring as well as the understanding the controls of mineral localization. So let me start. The eastern flank of North Odisha iron ore craton, which is named as Badampar Gorumoisani Suleipat belt. This is the Badampar Gorumoisani Suleipat belt. The other one is here Bonai Keonjhar belt. And third one is Doitari Tomka iron ore group. All are having the group status, iron ore group status. And this is the cratonic area. So previously it was known as Singhbhum Odisha granite complex. But now it has been changed to North Odisha iron ore craton because 90%, more than 90% of this part lies in Odishan terrain. So that is why it has been during the last 2 decades, 3 decades, this term North Odisha iron ore craton is being used. And also after the separation of formation of new state Jharkhand, you may call it as Odisha Jharkhand iron ore craton or granite complex. So the eastern province occur at Badampar Gorumoisani Suleipat sector of Odisha Jharkhand, and this represent a key horizon for Archean schist belt. So this is the geological map of Badampar Gorumoisani Suleipat belt. So it comprises important minerals and rocks like banded magnetite quartzite, banded magnetite brunerite quartzite, and banded chalky quartzite. These are the prominent rock types, and this belt is famous for the magnetic iron ore formation, but the other iron ore formations of iron ore supergroup, they were hematitic rocks. I get banded. Sorry. Is it audible? Visible? Hello? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It is audible, sir. Audible and visible.
Okay.
Yes.
So these rocks particularly included by the numerous ultrabasics and dolerite dikes, and the basement rock belongs to OMG and OMTG, older metamorphic groups and older metamorphic tonalitic niches. They include amphibolites, particularly amphibolites, tremolite, actinolite schist, and Singhbhum granites. Basically, a number of Singhbhum granite phases of Singhbhum granites. So, series of anticlines and synclines of the iron orogeny, they run parallel in northeast, southwest in the Badampara and Suleipat. Just the animation shows you. These are the number of anticlines and synclines. They run parallel from Badampara south to Gorumoisani in the north, and it crosses across the Suleipat area where the particular belt is constricted. That means the ore formation is very less in that area. So
ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡಿದವರಿಗೆ ಹೌದಾ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿಲ್ಲ. Due to some technical problem, sir has left, so he will join soon. Please bear with us.
The person you have called is speaking.
Oh.
ଆପଣଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଡାଏଲ କରାଯାଇଥିବା ନମ୍ବର
କଲ୍ ପଳେଇଲା ସାର୍ଙ୍କର କଲ୍ ପଳେଇଲା ଖୋଲେ ନା
ଆପଣଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଡାଏଲ କରାଯାଇ
ୱେଟିଂ ଦେଖିଲା ଆର ପଟ ନମ୍ବରଟା ୟୁଟ୍ୟୁବରେ କେତେ ଜଣ
ଆପଣଙ୍କ ଦ୍ୱାରା ଡାଏଲ
ଦେଖିଲେ
କରାଯାଇଥିବା
ହଁ ଆସିଲା yes sir, you are visible now. Sir, please unmute your microphone.
Yes, yes.
Yes sir, you are audible and visible now.
So this is the ancient craton which represent part of the North Odisha iron ore craton. I'm sorry for the interruption because of the technical problem. So structural signatures are very decisive geological parameters of basin development. How this BGS belt was developed, it is a simple and understandable schematic diagram to show you how it has been formed. First, it was thinned out at the border regions due to the thermal expansion, then grabenization or the graben formed, then sedimentation happens occurred, then it underwent IOG orogeny, iron ore group orogeny, which revealed that particular area to uh, go through different phases of structural activities, and among them the fold structures are dominant. So we'll later now the present form of the BGS belt is in this shape, where it has undergone 3 phases of fold structures, and maybe more than that, but as you know, more than third phase of fold are not manifested in the field. You cannot see, you cannot search for that, find out that particular type of fold. If we see F1, F2, F3, F4 is very difficult to find out in the field. So that is why at least 3 phases of fold episodes have been recorded in that particular area. The first fold is very much present, and it is manifested by the field fold structures which are striking northeast southwest. You see, this is the fold structures, and with a deep steep around 70 to 80 degree towards northwest. F1 fold geometry display tight isoclinal, reclined, and parallel, and sometimes disharmonic fold styles. These are the typical fold structures you can find, and they all represent, most of them are represent the Ramsey fold classification 1C. Okay, so this is how the first fold architecture sets in the belt, which occur on S0 or S1. The stratification S0, which is a bedding plane, and the meta sediment becomes part of the S1 after it underwent the slight, the nascent deformations, and the axial plane S2 is developed, and as usual the lineation L1 is developed. F1 fold are isoclinal in nature. Basically, those folds are isoclinal with limbs are parallel, as you know, and also the axial planes. Limbs are parallel to each other, and also axial to axial plane, parallel to the axial plane. S2 cleavage is effectively parallel to S0 or S1, and also perpendicular to S2 is perpendicular. S2 is the axial plane cleavage, which is perpendicular to the S0 or S1. Why S0? Because it is found that the stratification bed is preserved after the metamorphism, or it has undergone the deformational stages. So this is how the kinematics of F1 folds initiated during the time of fold structures. First it has undergone buckling, then later it was modified by flattening, and also later on it has undergone superposition of homogeneous strain. You see the buckling, then flattening. Because of the homogeneous strain, they have been flattened, and also these structures are very rarely found because these are the fast folds, and they are not found in the field because the F2 folds are prominent in the fields, because they are the lateral folds. F2 folds are lateral folds, and these F1 folds are superimposed, sometimes are dominated or modified by the F2 folds. And some parasitic folds. Parasitic folds are the folds generated in the limbs of the fast folds with the reversal of the curvatures in the hinge zones of the large folds. They are the minor folds. Sometimes you may be confused with the parasitic folds, but if you see a whole fold structures, major fold, some minor folds of reverse curvature are found, which are the parasitic folds. These are typical fold structures of F1 nature, F1 folds, found in the locality. The second generation fold structures are upright. They are upright and sometimes isoclinal also. Isoclinal and recumbent also. They are tied to open because most of the places these fold structures are pervasive in nature, striking from north-northeast to south-southwest in this way, to this way. So it has also high dip from 80 to 85 degrees towards northwest. The same trend. Sometimes they are coaxial with the F1 folds. F1 is predominant structure that controls the regional outcrop patterns. So as I told you that you may get lot of F2 folds rather the F1 folds because they are dominant structures, and the F1 structures after buckling, flattening, they have been tightened, and sometimes it is found open, and they are considered as the F2 fold structures. F2 folds developing on the early isoclinal F1 beds have larger wavelength. They are spreaded, they are stretched, so they have the larger wavelengths compared to the F1 folds. So the F2 folds, along with S1 stratification, that is S2, now the axial plane cleavage S3 are formed in the shape of curved axial planes. They are the convergent axial planes S3 correspond to the F2 fold structures on S2, because S2 is the stratification of F1 folds. Now the F1 folds have been converted to the F2 folds. That is why the stratification of axial plane is denoted by the S3. So this is the typical F2 fold structure. These are the recumbent folds in the area. So the third generation folds are the latter fold structures. So recently you are getting most of the terrains which are broad and open, and they represent some fold structures. That is basically the third phase fold structures, and most of the third phase fold structures remain in the superimposed fold structures. So the axial plane S4 are developed striking, this is northwest and southeast. This is somewhat contrasting, vectorially contrasting to the F1 and the F2 folds. You can imagine, you can see and understand the axial plane cleavages S1, S2 of F1 fold, S3 of S1, S2 of F1 fold, S3 of F2 fold. Now it is S4. The S4 is a corresponding axial plane of F3. It is almost perpendicular, cutting across the other two axial planes. So they are striking in northwest southeast directions. So the linear structures L3 corresponding to F3 are developed due to the intersections of S4 with S1 and S2 and also S3. So this is how it looks like. They intersect the S2, S3 and the limbs containing S1 to form the linear structures L3. So all these folds in the latter stage of deformations, they have undergone superimpositional functions to present lot of minor fold structures which are very interesting, and they are also useful in determining the tectonic and structural history and the terrain evolutionary history of that particular region, that is BGS belt. So interference occurs among F1, F2, F1, F3, F2, F3 means the first fold, second fold, first fold, third fold, and second fold, third fold. So those interference gives us lot of minor faults, and it is very amazing to get all sorts of faults in the fields itself. So interference of F2 faults on F1 faults results in producing hook-shaped fault structures. They are found in the field as hook-shaped fault structures having the curved axial planes with double closures. Hook shapes have double closures. This represents the type 3 of Ramsey fault classification. F1 faults at places becomes recumbent to recline at the hinge of the F2 faults. So this is the interference of, this is not clear, this is an old photograph. This is the interference of F1 and F2. Because F2 is dominant, F2 is interfered with F1 to give you double curvature closure, double closure hook-shaped faults. So then mirror image pattern is formed by the interference of F1 faults with F3. So this represents the type 2 of Ramsey classification due to the overprinting of open steeply inclined F3 faults with north-west striking axial planes upon northeast trending isoplanal F1 faults. So when the axial planes are cross-cutting each other at 90 degree, they are so much contrasting and they overprint each other to form. Basically, the third fold is overprinting on the first fold to represent the to form a mirror image. This is the replica. One is looking just like other. So you can see here, these are the mirror image. Here also you can see the mirror image folds are formed. So then the eyed folds also are formed due to the interference of F3 and F1. This represents the type 1 of Ramsey, which are doubly plunging antiforms and synforms. They are the plunging antiforms and synforms simultaneously formed, and it looks like the eye form. Three-dimensionally also you can see the photographs given here. So this is what the F1, F3 gives. The eyed folds. Number of eyed folds are there. It's the interference pattern of F3 with F1 folds. And this becomes in further, that means the intricate pattern of superimposition. This gives a number of domes and basing structures. So domes and basing structures prominently given by F1, F3, but also it is also formed by the F3, F2 and also F3 and other form of interferences like F1, F2. Because first and second folds are coaxial or nearly coaxial, and the F2 folds are dominant in the region. That is why F3 can interfere with F1 as well as F2 and also simultaneously with the F1 and the F2. The superimposition of F3 folds on F1 and F2 folds, or either I told you F1 into F2, has given rise to the dome and basing structure. Very interesting dome and basing structures which represent the type 1 of Ramsey classification. Domes and basings are developed as a result of shortening of the folds axis along with the perpendicular, along two perpendicular direction in the constrictional regions of the strain. Means two contrasting fold axial planes, they are perpendicular to each other and they are shortened, and the strain is constricted in that particular area to form dome and basing structures. So this is how the dome and basing structures are formed. You see, so these are the first folds F1. These are the F1. F2 is overprinting on F1 or modified by F1. These are closed, tight to somewhere open. So then F3 is here. Now F1, F2, F3, they interfere to form this particular F3, and you can get the dome and basing structures here. You see this direction F1, F2 is pervasive either this direction axial plane, here also. Then F3 is interfering with this in northwest direction, striking northwest direction, so that the strain pattern at the constricted zones form these fold structures which are known as domes and basins. And the minor fold structures basically M, Z, S shapes are occurring during the different generations of deformation in the belt. So due to this particular type of interferences, there are a lot of other interferences are there, but they are not found, but here almost all M, Z, S shapes are found, which are occurring during the different generations of fold interferences. Often these minor folds are produced on the limbs of the main folds on the basis of their orientations on limbs and hinge zones. The fold interference patterns involves variety of such shape combinations which are possible in this multiple folded terrain. You see here number of minor folds, here S shapes, somewhere it is M shapes, Z shapes will be given the impression of in these animations. These are the M-shaped folds. These are the minor folds, part of the major folds, which are formed in the terrain due to the interference of fold episodes. These are also the M structures, M minor folds. They're very interesting. And this speaks a lot of things in the terrain evolution and mineral formations. So this is type of Z-shaped folds. These are also minor folds. A lot of Z folds are there in the main folds. They may be isoclinal, may be reclined or recumbent. So these are the interesting Z structures. And this is how we can find also the Z-shaped fold structures. Plenty of Z fold structures are available due to the interference of fold structures in the BGS belt. This is a S-shaped fold structure which is found in Badampad region. This also represents a minor fold structure due to the interference of F1 and F2. So this is how we have seen a number of fold structures in the BGS belt, in the iron ore group, Badampad, Gorumaisani, Sulaipat iron ore group. So time is very short and we have just going in a shortage of time. So this belt is, I'm concluding, the belt has been aligned along the axial direction of anticlines and synclines that actually indicate the regional trend. So the northeast southwest trend is the regional trend here, and it is maintained throughout the region, starting from Badampad to Gorumaisani through Sulaipat. This northeast southwest trend is maintained, and somewhere it is changed or deviated at the southeast of Gorumaisani, where the surface expression of the third fold attests the structural signature. So the same pattern happens in many localities of the belt. The general trend is maintained in the occurrence with the dominating second fold axial planes. So these are the dominating fold structure, the second fold structures, and the whole region is controlled by the F2 deformation, and the interference patterns are produced due to the superimposition of F2 over F1. Also, in case of superimposition, F2 dominates among the three types of folds, that is F1, F2, F3. F3 also dominating, not dominating the secondary, that means in the second stage fold interfering folds, and F1, F2, F3 folds are in a sequence from early to late, and they interfere just reversely. The major fold faults, because I am not discussing faults, but the major faults extend again maintaining the general trend of northeast-southwest directions. So these deformational activities, what do we do with these deformational activities? Basically, the eastern province that is known as the B-Fan, the oldest among what, again I'm telling this is the oldest iron formation among the other iron formations encircling the North Odisha iron ore craton. So here, the particular type of structural signatures we find are in use or in form from which the informations can be obtained regarding the terrain morphology, denudations, intrusive concentrations, then mineral development, ore genesis and metamorphism. And another important thing is ore localizations also. So this is how I explained you the structural signatures of the eastern province iron formations of the North Odisha iron craton. Think you have done well through the presentations, teeny presentations of my endeavor. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your elaborative presentation on faults. So, due to time constraint, we are not taking any questions from the participants, though we have received so many questions. But later on, we will forward those questions to the research person.
Okay. Thank you. It is very late. So I think all my dear students and other delegates attending the seminar, they have enjoyed the presentation, though I have interrupted in between. So I'm sorry for that inconvenience. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
Over to you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay.
So
leaving.
now over to our Assistant Professor Arun Kumar Nayak for vote of thanks.
Thank you, Dr. It's too late. So very good afternoon, all one and all. So I will not take much time because it is a long time. So I'll start my duty. So Honorable Vice Chancellor, Pokemon University, respected Chairman PG Council, our most valued resource persons and dignitaries, my dear students. So it is my honor and privilege to propose a vote of thanks on this August moment. So I, Mr. Arun Kumar Nayak, Assistant Professor of the Department of Geology, on behalf of my department, to extend a very hearty vote of thanks to all the speakers and audience for gracing this webinar on recent advances in geological research. So a big thank you to Professor L. Ilango, Head of the Department of Geology, Anna University, Chennai, for his efforts towards advanced techniques in hydrological research. So where he mentioned importance of groundwater depletion due to overexploitation in the coastal zones of India as well as globally. And he also explained the various advanced techniques used in groundwater studies, groundwater modeling, like airborne EM method and ground penetrating radar, which is used for the stratigraphy of the region, and nuclear magnetic resonance, GRACE data. So many things he has covered in very short duration. So we are really enlightened with your knowledge and presence. Thank you, sir. So I must mention our deep sense of appreciation for Professor Srirup Goswami, Head Department of the Earth Science, Sambalpur University, for his explanation on a virtual tour to Permian Forest. So where he basically focused on biodiversity during the Permian time. So he explained us the significance of Permian flora and fauna, like mosses, then reconstruction of plants, how they got rectified, and plant and animal relationship, and lastly, paleoclimate and paleovegetation reconstruction. So thank you, sir. We all are inspired by your great work and words. I may like to express our sincere thanks to Dr. Devananda Beura, head of the Department of Geology, Utkal University, for giving an excellent coverage on structural signatures of the Eastern Province Iron Formation of the North Odisha Iron Ore Pattern, with special reference to folds, where he mentioned three phases of the fold structures, F1, F2, and F3, and how they interfere, the interference patterns of these folds. So the way he explained the topic is exemplary. Thank you, sir, for your encouraging and informative talk. So behind the success of this webinar, there is a great lady that is none other than our Vice Chancellor, Professor Madhumita Das, who continuously directs and motivates us to organize such kind of webinars. So proud to say that this is the first webinar in our state delivered by this baby university in the geoscience fraternity. So I wish to express my gratitude to our chairman PG Council for giving us opportunity to organize this event by providing this space and support. A big thank you to our convener, Dr. Nandita Mahanta, head of the department of our geology department, and organizing secretary, Dr. Rosalind Das, for organizing such inspiring and informative webinar program. An event like this cannot happen overnight. So the wheel starts rolling weeks ago. So we have been fortunate enough to be backed by a team of very motivated and dedicated colleagues of our department, like Dr. Asim Amitabh Pradhan and Dr. Smruti Rekha Sahu, who know their job very well. Our heartfelt thanks to our audience for active participation and patient hearing. I would like to thank the technical staff and crew members for their support. With these warm words and a kind message, we move to the end of the today's seminar. Thank you. Stay safe during this Corona pandemic. Vande Mataram. Thank you all.